17 of 21 Days of Yoga with today's practice intent of forgiveness. So we're going to begin in seated position in bound angle with the palms of our feet touching each other. And we can have the heels closer to us or further away, whatever is comfortable in your body. You're making sure both sides and both tailbones are grounded on the mat. You can have your hands on your ankles if that's comfortable for you, or maybe on your knees, whichever it feels comfortable. And continue to have your back elongated, erected, shoulders relaxed, and breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. And then if you're sharing today's practice intent of forgiveness, begin to bring forth what forgiveness means to you. You can either have your eyes closed or at a soft gaze. And just once again, taking some breath in through the nose, through the mouth. What comes to mind for me is forgiveness can be very controversial. And as a person like me, I'm kind of like just let it go. Because I feel like me holding it in, really, it's a lot of energy. And it's not worth it for me. But I also understand people who are like, oh, I can't forgive them, or forgive them, I don't know, all this stuff. But still, it's just interesting, right? Anyways. So we're going to begin here. Ooh, and chunky monkey to the go ahead of this. And then we're going to breathe in through the nose, really just bringing our shoulders down, opening up our chest, out through the mouth. Bringing our chest forward as we inhale, thinking of a cow pose, right? Really trying to tilt your tailbone up, opening my chest, opening my shoulders, breathing in, and as I exhale, concaving my shoulders in, tilting my tailbone down, really trying to just cover my heart as much as possible. And then back, inhaling, opening up my chest, lifting my tailbone up, and then back again, exhaling in cat pose, seated cat pose, really just concaving that in. Right, just waking up my body, warming it up, whichever feels good to me. If you are following this in January 2021, then it is cold, right? And then just doing what I can to wake my body up. And so while my hands are here on my ankles, I'm actually just going to hinge forward and really just try to forward fold here, bringing it closer, bringing my chest closer, my face close to my toes, maybe walking my hands out to really deepen that stretch. Trying not to hunch my back so that my nose goes to my feet, but really just trying to bring it diagonal so that my chest are forward folding. 3, 2, and 1. And just really just roll this out, waking up the body. All right. And I'm going to switch it up a bit and actually just begin first on our back, right? And allowing ourselves to lay on our back, bringing my thighs to my chest and really just squeezing that. And then grabbing one of my feet, one of my feet, and so I'm gonna grab my right to the right outer foot and just open that up in kind of like a half happy baby. And I'm gonna bring this left foot down, right, so that it is on the ground. My toes and my heel of my foot, the bottom of my feet are on the mat, and just kind of doing a half happy baby, right? Gently going between bent and straight, really opening that out. Using my left arm to anchor me so I still keep my both hips on the mat as well. Just waking that up. And now placing it back through center, placing this right foot down and then using my left hand to grab the left outer side of my foot and then open up into the left half baby. Ooh. See that one side might be tighter than the other, which is fine, right? Waking that up. Right. Bringing them back together. Maybe doing some circles, right? So my left hand on my left knee and my right on my right knee, and then pulling my left to the left side and my right to the right as they kind of circle and they be at the top and then come back down and circle, sticking out to the opposite end and then back to the top and then one more time. And I'm doing the reverse, right? Sending them from the top to the opposite end, meeting at the bottom, sending to the top, opposite end, meeting at the bottom, right? So this is a bit different for me, starting this way. And then once again, really just hold my chest to thigh, my thighs to my chest, and really just squeeze. And then maybe stretch out long. And now just rolling back over to the other side, as we're now going to go on our stomachs. Right, so I'm on my stomach. I'm going to untuck my toes, place my hands right by in front of me, kind of like in Sphinx pose, where my shoulders are right over my elbows and vice versa. Right, and I'm just going to lift up my chest up, opening it up, really getting that kind of back bend in the mid back, opening my chest, opening my back, tilting my head forward and diagonally up, and then lowering that back down. And then one more time, lifting up in this Sphinx pose. And then while I'm up, I'm actually just gonna tuck my toes and then shift my hands so that I can lift up and kind of like cobra, and then tilt my tailbone up and back, and now I'm in downward dog. And just pedaling that out, right? Really warming my body up, really just extended downward dog, stretching the top parts of my shoulders and my arms and my legs. Kind of like if you have a pet and your dog is kind of like, ooh, getting that good stretch. Pedaling that out. And I'm gonna walk my feet to my hands. And once again, pedal that out, waking up my hamstring. And maybe it feels a little different doing it that way. Maybe that's what forgiveness feels like for some people, right? Maybe it feels a little different, a little challenging, uncomfortable to forgive. Because sometimes it feels like you're giving that person that power. And so as we forward fold, I'm actually going to place my hands right underneath my knees, on my shins, lifting up into a flat back, really stretching the front and back of my torso. Trying to get that flat back. And for me, I've realized that I really have grown to or be used to putting this arch in my back and feel like I'm doing something. And so I was really actually countering that arch and really getting that straight flat back by tilting my tailbone down. And then my hands are back down on the mat in this forward fold. And I'm going to open and spread my fingers out as I step back into a plank pose, right? So plank, really holding this strong, shoulders right over my wrist with shoulders width apart. Breathing in through my nose, out through my mouth. I'm really just holding this powerful pose. Maybe allowing, lifting up my right leg, kicking it back, lowering back down. Lifting up my left, kicking it back, lowering down. Do one more on each side. Right. Using that power, that strength that is needed sometimes in forgiveness to wake up my body, using my toes to shift forward and back, and then gently lowering down to my belly, untucking the toes, and lifting up in cobra pose with my hands and fingers right by my ribs, lifting my chest up and through, and then lower back down, untucking the toes, lifting up and back into downward dog. Lifting up that right leg, and I'm going to step it right through into my low lunge, bringing down that left foot. Right. Right knee is right aligned with my right ankle. Lifting up in this asana. Once again, for me, really sitting in it, trying not to forward fold too much, but really sitting and deepening in this stretch, and lifting my hands off the mat, using my toes, spreading them out to really balance me on my front foot for 3, 2, and 1. Placing my hands down, walking them back, shifting my tailbone back, flexing my toes. I don't know, I feel very limber today. See how much tension you release when you already are in the mindset of forgiveness, at least for me. Right, so flexing my toes in this half split as I bend my knee, shifting my hips forward, shifting my hips back, bringing my chest forward, nose to toes, and holding this for 3, 2, and 1. Walking my hands and shifting all the way back up forward into this low lunge. And then actually here I'm going to lift up this left back foot, straighten this front foot, and now I'm in pyramid pose. Right, once again hinging forward, breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. Just holding this pyramid pose, having both legs straight and both legs engaged, toes pointed forward, facing the mat. In this forward fold, I'm now going to place my left hand down, lifting up my right arm up and really kind of getting that twist, really using my fingers on my left hand to really keep me stable. Opening my chest to the right side of the room. Holding this for 3, 2, and 1. Lower back down. Bring that left foot back bring that left knee back down. I think I'm excited. Back in that low lunge. And then step back and bringing that right foot back, lifting up and back into a downward dog and pedaling that out. Doing the same thing for the left, lifting up that left leg, stepping it through into a low lunge, bringing that right foot down. All right, lifting my chest off, really sinking my hips deep into this low lunge, allowing my hands up, using my toes to ground me and stabilize me. Trying to open up just how I can open up my fingers, trying to open up my toes so I can be stabilizing this pose for 3, 2, and 1. Placing my hands down, walking my hands back as I shift my hips, flexing my toes, bringing my chest forward. And then walking back up into this low lunge. Tucking those right toes and lifting them up so that they are now parallel to the front toes in pyramid pose. Right, hinging forward, really having this front leg, left leg straightened, really feeling that stretch in my heart and my hamstring. Forward fold here for 3, 2, 1. Placing my right arm down, lifting up this left arm, really opening to the left side of the body for 3, 2, and 1. Placing them back down, bending that knee back into this low lunge, stepping back and lifting up into downward dog. So pedaling this out, now we're in our downward dog. I'm going to lift this right leg again, step it through, right? And now I'm in runner's lunge, making sure this right knee is still bent over my right ankle. And I'm going to turn this left foot back 45 degrees so that my toes are about 45 degrees to the mat. And now cartwheel up into warrior pose, right? Really making sure that my hips are stacked, my hips are open, or my hips are stacked with my ribs, and my hips are still open, knees engaged, really sinking in this asana. Breathing in, really feeling strong and powerful. contrary to what people believe about forgiveness and forgiving other people or yourself, if we feel very vulnerable in that state, but knowing that it actually comes with much power to be forgiving. And so I'm going to shift forward and tilt this hand, flipping this hand up, lifting this palm up over my head, over this left side of my body, and I'm now in peaceful warrior. Placing this left hand behind my back and really sinking and deepening this asana, really stretching this right side of my body, but I also feel it in my left too. And holding this for 3, 2, and 1. Cartwheel back into warrior pose. Then I'm gonna cartwheel my hands down, and now I'm back in runner's lunge, twisting that foot now back on the balls of my feet. Stepping that right foot back, and now I'm in downward dog and pedaling that out. Doing the same thing for the left, lifting up that left foot, stepping it through, tilting, turning this back foot 45 degrees, opening up in this warrior pose. Keeping everything stacked in a line, so I'm still powerful, really opening up. And now flipping this left hand, lifting it up and over this right body, bringing this right arm behind me, and lifting and over for 3, 2, and 1. Back into warrior pose. Cartwheeling down, and now shifting into runners, bringing that foot back into downward dog. And so as I pedal in downward dog, I'm just gonna try to roll by doing the same thing I did with that cow pose of really concaving my shoulders, going on my tippy toes, rolling into a plank, right? And then shifting forward and lowering down to my belly, untucking the toes, lifting up in cobra pose, really lifting my chest off the mat as much as possible, squeezing, engaging my thighs, and then lowering back down, untucking the toes, and lifting up and back in my downward dog again. So then I'm in downward dog, I'm going to pedal that out again, lift up that right leg, step it through, and once again I'm in runner's lunge. Here I'm going to actually lift off, making sure I'm keeping my back foot engaged, my knee over my right knee over my right ankle, and then lifting up and holding this powerful pose. Right, and then you can stay here or bring hands to heart center and bringing this left elbow to the right knee and doing a twist here and holding this for 3, 2, and 1. Bringing my hands back down, stepping back this right foot, and I'm back in my downward dog. Pedaling that out. You can also drop to your knees, shift your butt back, sitting on your heels, and now you're in child's pose if you need that rest in between. Maybe walking your hands out, bringing chest down, if you can touch your thighs, or opening it up. And then having chest touch the ground and or forehead on the ground. Once you feel ready to move, you can lift back up into downward dog, kick up that left foot, step it through, and now once again we're in this runner's lunge. And I'm going to really press off using my thighs, keeping them squeezed and engaged so that they're still neutral and facing forward. And holding this for 3. You can stay here or bring your hands to heart center, palms together, and bring this right elbow to the left knee and hold this for 3, 2, 1, and then bring them back down. Kick that left foot back in my downward dog. And while my thighs are already awake, I'm just going to lift up and just bring that shin through, right in my pigeon pose, pressing that left foot back, bringing that left foot back, Right, so the left foot is back, the front of the foot is on the mat, opening up so that the right foot is a bit open and my shin is at parallel with the front of the mat as much as possible while still being safe and sitting in this asana. Right, and this is a bit too much, you can always get a blanket, a pillow to really help with this asana. This can be challenging for some people, really deep hip openers. Really allows for a lot of emotion to sometimes spill out, stress and tension, and bringing up things that you may have forgotten about or thought you let go of. Right, so I'm going to walk my hands forward, going down to my forearms and sitting in this pigeon pose for 3, 2, and 1. Tucking my toes so that this foot is up so that I can walk my hands up, lift up off this left foot and bring this right foot back in my downward dog. And I'm going to lift up this left leg, bring it through, trying to have my shin parallel with the front of the mat, opening up this knee, untucking that right toes. Ooh. Right? And just sit in this asana. And just bring an awareness that one side may be different than the other. Walk my hands up to my forearms and just really sit in this asana for 3, 2, 1, and 0. Maybe a little bit more. For me, my left side is a bit tighter. And so just allowing myself to have more time to sit and deepen this side of my body. Safely walking my hands up, untucking these right toes, lifting up and bringing that left foot through and just pedaling that out. Looking forward and maybe jump, walk, float your feet to your hands. Ooh. And then you are now found in forward fold. Once again, bending those knees. Placing my hands right underneath my knees and flat back. Once again, tilting my tailbone down, really elongating my spine. Breathe. Placing my hands down on the mat, stepping back. And this time, as I lower, I'm going to lower into up dog. So by untucking my toes, having the front of my feet on the mat, and just really lowering that I'm now doing a back bend, but only keeping my feet and my hands on the mat. Maybe dropping my neck back. If this is too much, you can always be in cobra. And then untuck the toes and then tilt my tailbone up and back in my downward dog and walk that out. I'm going to make my way back down to the mat seated. You could have done that a different way. Now in staff pose. I'm going to use my right arm to just tilt my neck a little bit. Right, getting that neck stretch as I still keep my back elongated. And then maybe using my left hand to really deepen that stretch by walking it out to the left side, maybe a little bit behind me, to the left a little bit in the front, to really just feel that stretch. That is not pain, but rather a sensation for 3, 2, and 1. And now switch and bringing this left hand up, bringing it down, and then just having my right arm out a little bit to the front, a little bit back, to really feel that stretch for 3, 2, and 1. Move some booty knees. I feel deeper in this asana. Lifting my hands up above my head. And now forward fold. Bringing my hands to my toes if possible. Really flexing those toes as I forward fold here. Knee to nose as much as possible. Or your hands can be by your side here on your shins. Whatever is comfortable for you to really deepen this asana. And of course, you can bend your knees if you want to alleviate that tension as well. Holding this for 3, 1, and just shaking that out. And then I'll make my way to a seated position. And I'm going to actually clasp my hands behind my back and then lift up my chest, really squeezing my shoulder blades together as I lift my head up, tilting my neck back, and just deepen into this back bend here. There's probably a name for it, but I can't think of it. Thank you. There's probably a name for it, but I can't think of it right now. And then maybe lifting up these hands, and now once again forward fold here to really deepen this stretch. Really maybe allowing yourself to stretch out your shoulders different than how we usually do it. Shake that out. And then now I'm going to make my way down to Shavasana. Really surrendering. Allowing my fingers to curl naturally, my feet to turn out. Breathing into the nose, filling up my belly, filling up my chest, out through the mouth. Once again, into the nose, out through the mouth. Once again, bringing forth your intention for today's practice. And if you should mind of forgiveness, think about maybe who or what you need to forgive in this new year. And I encourage you to think not to forgive them for their sake, but for your sake, right? To maybe let go of that burden, let go of that resentment, that anger, that tension that you probably feel or is carrying in your body. And remember, you can forgive and not forget it. Remember what they did, but don't allow yourself to continue to carry that energy of hurt and anger towards them. Just release all of that tension into the universe by a deep exhale. Inhale. One last deep exhale. Allow yourself to sink deeper in the mat. If you have more time to sit in this asana, I invite you to do so. If not, you can begin bringing energy to your feet and toes. Bringing your knees up and shifting to one side as you position yourself in fetal pose. Allowing a rebirth to occur as you gently move into easy seat. Transitioning what you learned on the mat into your everyday life. And allowing yourself to understand that sometimes just forgiving people is just a way of accepting them for who they are. And know that thing that people do is just a projection of themselves and not of you. So let's place our hands together, palm center. Now let's place our hands at heart center, palms together. The light in me sees the light in you. Thank you so much for joining me on this day. See you next time.